I think my favorite thing about Toronto is that it's always changing.
I've been trying to make this video for pretty much a whole year now. I don't know why it's taken me so long, but hopefully it works out this time. Toronto is an incredibly interesting, crazy city. There's nowhere else out there like Toronto. It's an incredibly busy city. There's always something going on, there's always construction, and even right now, you can barely get in and out of the city for the next 3 years because half of the major highway is, it's closed. I've lived in Toronto for nearly 6 years now. I've built a home here, a business here, and really an entire life in this city. And I've been wanting to tell my story about this city for a while, all of its positives and negatives, and this video has been a year in the making. Toronto is an incredibly diverse city. We've had so many different people from all around the world come into this city and make it into what it is today. And it's only a good thing. Having unique people, having different people, different cultures all come into one place makes a place special. And I gotta tell you, probably my favorite part about Toronto, one of the best parts of the city, is our food scene. During COVID, my friend Liam and I actually worked on a project for our university that was essentially a video series highlighting all the local independent restaurants in Toronto. And it was one of the big ways I was able to really see and experience and understand just how diverse this city is. I mean, there's food from every culture you can think of, and you've got a bunch of original, authentic dishes, and then there are dishes that have kind of evolved and changed over time with all of the city's influences. We have food from pretty much everywhere in the world, all in our one little city, and I think that's pretty amazing. You almost got to the opposite of what Toronto influencers are telling you to do. Skip all those places, skip that pizza spot that everybody's lined up out the door in the rain for, and go to that pizza place down the street that's been there for, I don't know, 35, 40 years. That's where you're gonna see the real Toronto. Really, where you find the best food in Toronto is the places you wouldn't typically go into. That's proper. Alright, we're hitting up Buddha's Vegan just over here. It's been here since 1991. This is a classic vegan spot, probably my favorite restaurant in the city. Alright, there we go. Fried rice noodles, veggie beef, bean sprouts, green peppers. This is a lot of food and it tastes incredible. This is Naomi's. They make some crazy sandwiches, very affordable. They have some of the best flavor combinations. This is one of my favorite spots. Let's go. Thank you very much. Thank you. We got the classic kimchi egg on a whole wheat toast, a little bit of butter. I mean, it's perfect every time. It's a beautiful sandwich, has all the best elements. All right, we're about to go get some of the best momos in town. It is a Tibetan dumpling with the greatest hot sauce right over here. Steamed, full of vegetable, a little bit of hot sauce on there. It's the perfect meal any time of year. So good. But one of the most interesting places I discovered was a little restaurant that's actually been in the city for over 30 years on the corner in the east side of Toronto called Mystic Muffin. Let me tell you, Mystic Muffin is a classic Toronto success story. Started by an immigrant from Lebanon, it's not just him feeding his family through this business, but also the whole community. And it's really affordable too, with such an extensive large menu, which makes a spot like this so deserving of our support. Okay, Mystic Muffin, that's like a quintessential Toronto establishment. Okay, the go-tos in this place, it's gotta be like the fresh falafel this guy makes. He puts out some crazy falafel. And you know, you gotta pair that with the hummus, call it a day. That's like a very affordable meal. It's wonderful. You gotta get the apple cake, this shit crazy. And like this man's not like in the best neighborhood in the city. Like it's definitely a place that you don't want to be caught at like 2, 3 a.m. It's not the nicest place, but this man is here, he's doing his thing, making falafels, making apple cake, you know, this man he's killing it, he's killing it. There's so much good food in the city. I've had so many great meals that I think about all the time, and even things that even when I travel around the world, I still think about those dishes here in Toronto. We got some great food. Yo, best thing about Toronto, besides the food, gotta be the coffee shop situation. Like, there's so many coffee shops all around the city. You know, post up, you get a nice nitro, cold brew, sit here, do some work, watch the people doing their thing. It's a beautiful thing. And Toronto is so much more than just the basic downtown area. If you come to Toronto and all you do is spend time in the downtown core, you're missing out on the entire city. There's no point even coming here, honestly. The east side, the west side, midtown, and beyond, there's so much to the city way outside of the downtown core. The coolest art galleries, the coolest theaters, the best food, the coolest people are not going to be downtown Toronto. Toronto is surrounded by nature. We have beautiful parks and trails, beaches and forests, and wherever you might be in the city, you're probably about 10 or 15 minutes away from getting lost in nature if you need a break. Toronto is an amazing city to spend money in, not because things are cheap, because they're not, but because there are so many great independent businesses that offer so many great things. And Toronto's vintage clothing scene is honestly unmatched. Whether it's new or old pieces, whether it's designer, you're probably gonna find something. Everybody, we're here at One of a Kind here on Queen Street West in Toronto. We're gonna get some new pieces today. They told me to come by the store, they're gonna hook me up with some stuff. Let's get some new clothes. Yeah, I think I have to get this one. Look at this change room too. Check this place out. This is actually the sickest change room. Supreme Motion Tee 2020. This is actually such a sick shirt. Crazy haul. Doing unboxing after. Let's go. Alright, and that's the haul. And there are places for whatever you might be looking for, no matter how weird.
That has never, ever been seen before. What'd you just find?
This is the craziest find I think I've ever found. It's a Mercedes shower head. But how do you even get around this city? How do you go out and even get to the places you want to go? Well, to be honest, I don't really have the answer. From east side to west side, uptown, you can barely get around in the city if you drive or you take an Uber. It's next to impossible. And public transit is also not great either. This is nothing comparable to Japan or New York or anywhere in Europe. We have terrible public transit. The buses are slow if they even show up at all, and the streetcars are pretty much completely useless. Like, if one streetcar goes down, all the streetcars on that road are stuck. They're pretty much all just useless. And they're supposed to alleviate traffic, but they still get stuck in traffic. They even create traffic if there's a backup of multiple streetcars, and it's just, it's a mess. The subway's pretty good if you live near a subway station, and they are fairly quick these days and come fairly frequently, but the problem is like they don't really take you that far around the city. They go this way and they go this way, and that's it. So everywhere in between you're reliant on buses or the streetcar or taking an Uber, which is ridiculously expensive. It's just, getting around the city is very challenging. Walking is a great way to get around the city. It's pretty quick, pretty reliable. You can get anywhere very quickly. The mall is about a 20-minute walk. The groceries are about a 5-minute walk, or maybe even less. But biking is my favorite way to get around the city. We could definitely use more bike lanes. We could definitely use more electric bikes in the shareable bike ecosystem, which is actually pretty good. And if you own a regular road bike or an electric bike, you can get across the city in like 15 minutes. It's no problem at all. You can completely avoid all that traffic. It really is a bike-friendly city. What really makes Toronto, especially for me, has been the people. I've met some amazing people through school, through work, just out and about. I've met some really great people around this city. And this is a big city, almost 3 million people, but it feels like a small village, a small town, and you see people you know all the time, everywhere. And I've made some of the best friends that I've ever had in my life in this city, friends I hope to have for the rest of my life. And it's really easy to make connections and to meet people who share the same interests as you, share the same mindset as you. This is a great city to make great friends. But despite making some great friends and trying to be out and about all the time, doing things, it is also easy to feel a bit lonely sometimes in this city. People can seem kind of cold into themselves sometimes, and also the weather in the winter doesn't help either. You can feel very isolated and very lonely. And I did feel that way about a winter and a half ago. I felt very lonely, very alone, and even though I had people around me, I just felt very by myself. Growing up, I wasn't allowed to have any pets, and I decided it was finally time to start looking. I searched every day for cats available for adoption in the city, and one day, I met the cat that I would name Duster. His previous family actually abandoned him within a year of owning him, and I knew he was the one I had to take home. 24 hours later, I got to bring him home during the worst snowstorm of the winter. Yo, boss. Those initial days with Duster were everything I'd hoped for. He was incredibly sweet, and we bonded almost instantly.
Bro's got hops, let's go!
But by the weekend, he started getting sick. He was vomiting, refusing to eat, and clearly in not great shape. I rushed him to the vet the same day that I actually had to leave on a business trip that I couldn't cancel. Saying goodbye, I was unsure if I'd ever even see him again, and it really tore me apart. Despite our brief time together, I actually felt a really deep connection to Duster, and he was all I could think about during my trip across the globe. The next day, the vet called with some news. Duster had eaten something he wasn't able to digest, which likely was a piece of plastic either when I had brought him home or from the shelter. With a lot of treatment and medication, he pulled through, and now he's okay. Duster is simply a cat, but he's a cat that has made me into a better person, and taking care of him every day has given my life a lot more purpose. So much so that I adopted another cat, and they're best friends. I wish I could give all the lost cats a home, but for now, I'm grateful to be able to provide one for my two. So there's Toronto, right? It's a big city, the biggest in Canada, and there's a whole greater Toronto area. I actually wasn't born in Toronto. I've been here for about 5-6 years now. I actually was born in Hamilton. It's a city I lived in for about 16 years of my life, and I hated every single day living there. It was my least favorite place on earth. I never understood the city. I never wanted to be there, but I ended up going back last year. Hamilton is a city of contrasts. On one side, it's a city surrounded by trails and nature. On the other side, it's bordered by large factories, steel companies, smoke, and industrial production. Much of the population of Hamilton has worked in the steel industry at one point or another, as it was the biggest business as the city started to develop. but over the years, the steel production has wound down due to competition, modernization, and other factors. And while the city does produce a lot of steel still, it no longer is the city's sole major export. Hamilton is, without a doubt, undisputably a flawed city. The downtown core is falling apart, there's an ever-increasing drug crisis, homelessness, and even the quality of breathing air in Hamilton is less than ideal. I mean, some say it's cancerous. I hated Hamilton growing up and honestly saw no reason to ever think about it again or go back. I mean, why would I? Until last year at a party, I had a slice of Roma pizza. Roma Pizza is a bakery in Hamilton, and it really is a physical representation of the city. Roma's been making this pizza for 70 years. It was the go-to lunch for factory workers and a staple at every family gathering or event. You can find it all over Hamilton, but only in Hamilton. At first glance, the actual pizza is a basic looking slice with tomato on bread. But when you eat it, it is the most surprising, most interesting, most genuinely amazing bite of food. There's nothing else like it. I had this pizza so often growing up, and it was the best choice for parties, a quick dinner, and a perfect school lunch. I don't think I've ever actually had it warm because it's always sitting out at events or birthdays before anyone gets a chance to grab a slice. It might sound funny that a pizza could help me understand a city better, but it's more than just a pizza. The pizza brought me back home, and returning to my hometown was a reminder of everything that shaped me growing up. Despite the city's flaws and my own experiences, Hamilton played a crucial role in shaping who I am today. So when I got back to Toronto, there was something I needed to do. Yo, Jesse, can you tattoo this for me?
Oh, cool, man. Yeah, for sure.
That's perfect. So, Toronto. This is an incredibly interesting city, and I hear a lot of things about this city. It's not the most glamorous place in the world. It's a place that people often talk about leaving when they live here for many years. It's a place full of many problems alongside many good things. We have a housing crisis, we have a healthcare crisis, we have a cost of living crisis, we have a drug crisis. We definitely do have some problems here. But for every negative thing that I see in this city, I always see something positive and something beautiful. People ask me all the time, why do I want to stay in Toronto? What is so good about this city? And for me personally, it is the only city that I know I can do what I do and do it really well. This city has done so much for me. It's allowed me to build my business, create a life, create a home here in Toronto. It's allowed me to meet so many great people, so many great friends, business partners. I met my cats here, of course. That's a big one. It's a city that has allowed me to grow and has helped me to grow so much. I think about myself even 5 years ago and I was a completely different person, and I've learned so many different things about myself thanks to this city. So yeah, that's what to do in Toronto. And thank you for watching.
Thank you, Toronto. Thank you very much.